Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into your Strategic Business Leader class. I hope you all are doing well. So today we are starting with the manual, SBL manual volume 1. In the last class, we had SBL introduction only, and we did not have any topics covered in the last class. But in today's class, we are starting with our topics, our syllabus discussion. So I have divided SBL booklet that I have developed into two parts, volume 1 and volume 2. In this volume 1, 4 sections of the syllabus are covered, A, B, C, and D. And this volume 2, the remaining 4 sections will be covered. Okay, so this manual I have developed covering comprehensively the overall syllabus, and I also have integrated interesting insights, news, articles to help you not only to have the knowledge of the syllabus and SBL related discussion, but also to connect these topics with the corporate world and with overall business and economy. So definitely you will be enjoying these notes. So we are starting with section C, strategy. Okay, strategy section of the syllabus. So before I start, I would like to know if any student has a question. Do you have any question, please? Anything would you like to ask? Don't be shy. This is your class. So you have the right to ask. Okay, and I always encourage, I always appreciate my students to ask questions. The more questions you ask, more you learn. Okay. This is your space. So please don't be shy asking questions. Okay, so let's begin with strategy. What is strategy? What people normally think of strategy? What mistakes they make when they thinking of strategy? A lot of people think that both planning and strategy are same things. Do you think so? Hello? Do you think that both strategy and planning both are same things? A lot of people have this type of thinking that planning and strategy are same things. What do you think of this? Can you hear me? Dear, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what do you think of strategy and planning? Are they same?
No, strategy is mostly how to execute the plan we have made.
Yes,
There
correct.
is certain thing that we need to consider to execute the plan.
Very good. Very good. Means strategy is not just about planning. Planning is just one part of the strategy, right? It also includes execution of that strategy as well. It also include actions. It also include the implementation of strategy. Thank you very much. You have perfectly explained it. Okay, so let's move on and understand and explore what strategy is. Very interesting topic. And by the way, the concept of strategy is evolving very fast. We are in 2023 now. Understand, in 2023, literally the business and economy landscape is changing so fast, so fast. Okay, on the one side, there is a digital transformation is going on. So businesses and like corporates and companies, they are trying to keep themselves updated with the digital transformation, with the digital development. On the other side, there is so much is going on on the sustainability side. So over there, companies are also trying to keep themselves updated with the latest developments in the sustainability. So overall, there is unprecedented changes are happening in the business and economy landscape. If you keep yourself touch with the business and economy articles and journals, I hope then you know all these updates. So in these massive changes which are happening, the concept of strategy is also evolving as well. So let's little bit have understanding of what strategy is, and then we will try to link it with the broader concepts. So let's have some reading that business strategy is vital for any company seeking to grow its business in a strategic manner. But what exactly is a business strategy? Yes, it is important. Every organization must have a strategy. By the way, when we talk about corporate failure or business failure, okay, there was a topic in advanced performance management previously, and that was reasons of failure. Okay, reasons of failure, of business failure. And one of the reason was that there was no strategy. There was no strategy. One of the reason. It means if an organization does not have a strategy, it would lead it to the failure. Because strategy gives clarity, strategy gives direction, strategy helps, enables a company to focus on the future and where and what we are going to do. So strategy gives the answers to all these questions. So strategy is not just simple thing. Understand? Okay, so put simply, business strategy is a clear set of plans, actions, and goals that outline how a business will compete and grow in a particular market or markets with a product or number of products or services. So this is one other way to explain strategy. We also have another interesting definition of strategy from JSW. They are combined called JSW. Okay, famous writers on corporate strategy from UK, Johnson, Scholes, and Whittington. JSW they are called. They also have defined this definition of strategy. So let's try to explore this very comprehensive definition of strategy. By the way, if someone asks you to explain a strategy just in a single word, a single word, you can say strategy is direction of the organization. This is just a single word to comprehensively sum up the word strategy. But now we are going to explore more comprehensive understanding of strategy. So let's explore it. According to JSW, strategy is direction and scope of an organization over the long term, which achieves advantage for the organization through its configuration of resources within a challenging environment to meet the needs of markets and to fulfill stakeholders' expectations. This definition is very broad. Okay, so let's try to understand what this definition explain about strategy. Start with, first of all, that strategy is direction of the organization. What is direction of the organization? Direction means where are we heading to? Where are we heading to? In which direction we are going? So basically, direction gives the idea of what type of markets we are going to enter, what type of products are we going to offer, what type of services are we going to offer, okay? How are we going to achieve our vision and mission and objectives and goals? So this overall explains direction of the organization. Direction of the organization. I hope you have got understood about direction. I mean, direction gives direction explains how are we going to achieve mission, vision, and objectives and corporate and strategic goals of the organization. Then there is a scope, very interesting concept of scope. Scope basically gives you idea of what type of products and what, in which markets will we be operating. Scope. So basically every business needs to have a scope in which, because scope gives clarity. Scope gives clarity about business model of the organization. Yes, what I'm saying, scope gives clarity about business model. Clarity about business model of the organization, mean which type of products this company is offering or we will be offering, and in which markets we will be operating in. If you look at any big company, you will be clear about the scope. For example, let's talk about McDonald's. McDonald's, okay? When we think of McDonald's, what type of image we have about the McDonald's? That is a clarity in the McDonald's strategy, that McDonald's is a fast food restaurant. Okay, fast food restaurant. Understand? So the McDonald's is clear about its strategy that it is a fast food restaurant. Similarly, for example, Coca-Cola, for example, Coca-Cola is a like drink company. Okay, so it is very clear in its direction, its scope, that it is a drink company. So it has not limited its scope just to carbonated drinks. If you look at the mission statement of Coca-Cola, you will find that it has not mentioned, it has not specified it into, or it has not limited it into carbonated, because Coca-Cola has a wide variety and portfolio of its products. Okay, on the one side, it sells carbonated drinks such as Coca-Cola and other like 7-Up, Sprite and these type of products. But on the other side, Coca-Cola also sells a big portfolio of other drinks such as fresh juices, such as teas. Yes, Coca-Cola also sell the teas as well, and other brands as well. So this is called scope of the business. So scope must be crafted very carefully. Next is that strategy is a long-term thing. It is not short-term thing. Long-term thing mean we plan about 5 years or 10 years. Means this is beyond 3 years. Long-term mean this is beyond 3 years. So we plan, we strategize, we prepare, okay, for long term, for long term. So this is also part of strategy. Next, which achieve advantages for the organization through its configuration of resources. Now, there are two things. When we are talking about direction and scope of the organization in the long term, and we are making our efforts to achieve strategic advantage. Strategic advantage. Advantage, what is advantage? Yes, let's understand advantage. Same example of McDonald's. McDonald's is considered as world's largest fast food restaurant. Okay, and it has its advantage. It has its competitive advantage over its rivals. Understand? Similarly, when we talk about other brands, such as we talk about BMW, we talk about Toyota, we talk about, for example, Samsung, we talk about LG, we talk about like other brands, we get to know that these companies have advantage. Every company, if you just name any big brand, and you will find they have certain advantage over their competitors. So this is an important aspect of any strategy, that when you are planning, you must know how you will be adding value differently. Basically, this is advantage give us answers that how will we add value differently. How will we add value differently? When we talk about value, that is a big idea. Okay, don't just think that value is only added to the customers. Don't just think that value is added only to the customers by selling quality products. What other stakeholders are there where value can be added? Can anyone please suggest me what other stakeholders are there where a business, where a brand can add value? What other stakeholders do you think? How value is added to different stakeholders? We are talking about advantage, and I have explored it into value creation. Okay, I give you some insights. First, we talk about customers, that value is added to customers by offering quality products, by offering more features to the products. Okay, let's talk about how value can be added to the, for example, investors. Yes. Any idea how value can be added to investors? Hello?
Profitability of the company.
All right. Perfect. One way is that perfect means profitability. Okay. And higher returns. Okay, returns can be in dividends and capital gain. Dividends plus capital gain. And think beyond these traditional understanding. Think a little bit more. Think in the current context of like adding value. Latest. What is the latest thinking going on in the business and economy? Latest thinking. Adding value. Latest thinking. What is the latest thinking? See, one of the purpose of this class is that to update you, to prepare you for this latest business world. And this is how I add value, let me tell you. This is what makes me different, how I differentiate myself. Understand? To prepare my students for the latest business and economy developments. Understand? So this is why I expect my students to participate. I expect my students to communicate. Okay, this is overall part of that, my strategy. Understand? That's why I will always encourage you to share your thoughts, to interact. Okay, so we can have the both way of learning, not just the one way. Very good. So Josiana, you have mentioned that it is about sustainable business model. Sustainable business model. This is also a one way and other way where a business can add value to its investors. Okay, discussion is very, very, this is broad, so we need to just keep on focus. All right, there is another big stakeholder that expects us to add value. What is that stakeholder? There is another very big stakeholder that also expect a business to add value. What is the name of that stakeholder?
Supplier. Oh,
That is nature. Yes, of course, suppliers, these days businesses are working in collaborations, businesses are working in alliances, businesses are working in partnerships with suppliers. Okay, thank you. I can also add your point as well, that they suppliers. But these days there is a lot of, everywhere there is a discussion of how a business add value to the nature. Okay, so nature is also a stakeholder, my dear. Understand? So how a business would affect positively, how a business can contribute positively towards the nature, especially the natural capital. If a business is dependent on the natural capital, for example, using the water, using the kind of, you can say, the agriculture, using the natural capital output from the soil, from the ground, from the other sources of the nature. Okay, so if the natural capital is used, how is contributing positively? How contributing positively? Okay, so we are talking about, you see, strategy is not a simple thing. It's a very comprehensive, very comprehensive. I hope you are understanding this, all our discussion. So we are talking about advantage. So when we are developing strategy of the organization, we think of advantage as well. And advantage mean how are we going to add value? And when we talk about adding value, we think on various stakeholders. Okay, we think of various stakeholders. Let me tell you, there are a lot of businesses that are having competitive advantage just because of their nature-based products. You might also have seen in Mauritius as well, for example, organic products or green products or eco-friendly products or environment-friendly products, or you might have seen these days there is a massive discussion of vegan products, plant-based products. Have you heard these type of terms? Plant-based products, vegan products. Understand? So all these basically are nature, they claim to be nature-friendly products. And when they claim to be nature-friendly products, means they they claim to add value towards the nature, and that is the point where they are having the competitive advantage over the traditional businesses. Okay, so now when you next time think of competitive advantage, you think in a very broad way of competitive advantage. Okay, come back to the definition of strategy. Advantage for the organization through its configuration of resources. It means when we talk about strategy, we also think of resources as well. So resources, how resources are being used, how resources are being configured to add value, how resources are being consumed to take advantage. So you need to connect resource consumption with advantage. Okay, how business can seek advantage by making best use of its resources. So when we talk about resources, what do you think? What resources you think a business might have? Resources. Yes. Configuration of resources. We are just enjoying the definition of strategy. Okay, so when we talk about resources, the best use of resources, what do you think a business have resources? Please. Best use of resources. So what resources typically organization have? One resource is, of course, financial resource. But there are other resources as well. For example, like the infrastructure. Okay.
Human capital.
Sorry?
Human capital.
Yes, exactly. It's human capital. It's human capital, how it is consuming or using its human capital most efficient way. And one more resource, latest, the new addition to the organization, the latest asset to the organization is its information resource or data. Data or information resource. My dear, it is also a big resource for the organization. And one more, its image, its reputation, how people perceive of this brand. Okay, how people think of this brand, how people imagine about this brand, when they talk about this brand, when they think of this brand, how they perceive about this brand. Okay, I am talking in the context of I am talking in the context of a responsible business. Okay, because there is again, everywhere everyone is talking about responsible business. So how a business is operating in most responsible way, in the most ethical way. Okay, so this is, we can say, resources. I hope you are understanding all this. Within a challenging environment. Yes. Our next topic is about environment. Within a challenging environment. So when we talk about challenging environment, means we talk about normally pastel factors. Okay. When we talk about challenging environment, we talk about 6 factors. This is political, economic, social, technological, ecological, and legal factors, pastel factor. This is our next topic. So these all factors are changing. We know about that. Okay, so in this complex environment, how a business would successfully successfully sail through this type of complex business environment. So a strategy, come back to the point, a strategy should also help the organization to go through this challenging environment to meet the needs of markets and to fulfill stakeholders' expectations. Yes, to meet the needs of the markets. What is the need of the markets? What is the need of the markets? Markets mean its customers. Markets mean its customers. So the evolving nature of demands from the customers, evolving nature of customer demands, what they are demanding from the business organization. Again, I would link it with the responsible business. Customers are demanding, customers are expecting, markets are expecting from business organization to be more responsible, to be more ethical, to behave more responsibly, to be a good corporate citizen, to be a good corporate citizen. Understand? So be caring about the nature, be caring about the social capital, be caring about the human resources, be caring about overall stakeholders. Understand? And with to fulfill stakeholders' expectations. So I think we already have discussed enough about the stakeholders' expectation. Stakeholders are broad area. Stakeholders include internal stakeholders or external stakeholders. They include shareholders, they include investors, they include suppliers, they include lenders, they include customers and employees, and think beyond. This include nature, animals, air, water, soil, plants, forests, bees, butterflies, ecosystems. All these are now stakeholders. Previously, businesses have not given a serious consideration to ecosystems, but now they must have to. They must have to think of their impact on the nature because the time has changed. We are in 2023 now. So ecosystem. Okay, so there is more to consider when we talk about stakeholders. All right, so you can see all this comprehensively is about strategy. I hope you have now a clear idea about what strategy is. So this whole definition where we have discussed over the past 25 minutes, this is called strategy. I hope you have got now more clear idea about strategy. So move on. And now we are going to have a little bit understanding of Michael Porter, a strategy expert and professor at Harvard Business School, emphasizes the need for strategy to define and communicate an organization's unique position. Unique position. It is more about scope and advantage. Unique position mean how I distinguish my business, how I distinguish my position. This is a very interesting concept, unique position. Okay, if you want to have more clarity of unique position, think of different brands of cars. And one of the brand of car is Mini Cooper. I am sure all of you have seen Mini. Yes, Mini Cooper. Or another brand which I can relate to is Body Shop. I think Body Shop is in Mauritius. Does it have presence in Mauritius? I think Body Shop. Hello?
Yes. Yes, it has.
Huh? Sorry?
Yes, Body Shop is Mauritius.
All right. So what makes Body Shop different from other beauty and like beauty products? What makes Body Shop different? What is its unique position? It's about they claim to use vegan products, plant-based products. Okay, that is the unique position of Body Shop. And do they charge higher prices or average prices for their products? Hello? Do they charge higher prices or average prices? They charge higher prices. And talk about Mini Cooper. What distinguishes Mini Cooper from other car brands? What do you think? What makes Mini different? Its design? Hello? Its design and its performance. Its design and its performance. So the point here is that just these two examples would be enough for you to understand the unique position of a business. Although we have like dozens and dozens of examples, but this is not, we have limited time, unfortunately. So, and says that it should determine how organizational resources, skills, and competencies should be combined to create competitive advantage. So the point here is that how the organization resources, skills, competencies should be combined to create competitive advantage. This is the definition from Michael Porter. Okay. All right, so I hope you have understood a little bit now about what is strategy. What is strategy? Now let's move on and learn about the process of strategy development. How are strategies developed? So basically, you need to understand the three approaches towards development of strategy. Three approaches, which we are going to discuss in this, our next discussion. Strategies can be developed in different ways. One way of explaining how strategies are developed is to make a distinction between deliberate, emergent, and incremental strategy. So let's talk about the three ways of developing a strategy. Number one is called deliberate strategy. It is also called top-down approach to strategy. Top-down approach to strategy. Okay, top-down approach. It is also called formal strategic planning process. It is also called formal strategic planning process. Why formal? Because this is initiated from the top. Top means from the board level, from the executive management. It is initiated from the top management. Top mean executive management, mean you can think of board. So deliberate strategy is also called prescriptive strategy, or also called rationally planned strategy. It is the outcome from a formal strategic planning process in which management. So basically how deliberate strategy or top-down approach to strategy works. How does it work? First of all, you need to set your mission and strategic objectives. Mission and strategic objectives. Then carry out a strategic position analysis. Then identify and evaluate strategic options and alternatives. Then make strategic choices and then implement the strategy. and then review the progress of the selected strategy. So what we can learn here in deliberate strategy process, basically this is a step-by-step process. Step-by-step process. So it flows from the top, but it is a step-by-step process. So what steps are involved? Step number one, you set mission and objectives. Mission, what is mission? Mission is about purpose of the organization. Set purpose of the organization. Why do we exist? Why is this business exist? Okay, so you set mission and objectives. Once it is done, number two, you will be carrying out a strategic position analysis. Strategic position analysis is not a simple analysis. It is a very broad analysis, because in position analysis, you have to conduct three types of analysis. In part of position analysis, you have to conduct three types of analysis. These are called external analysis, internal analysis, and stakeholders analysis. You need to conduct three types of analysis. Here it is given. Okay, here it is given, three types of analysis. Then in step number three, in step number two, you have conducted position analysis. Step number three, you identify and evaluate strategic alternatives. At step number two, you have conducted your position analysis, and you are now better aware of your company, your business position in the overall landscape. Now you will look for the strategic alternatives. It is also called options. Strategic options. So what option we have? Option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. You have, for example, 4 options. Okay. You will evaluate each option one by one. Understand? And then you will choose the most suitable one. This is called step number 4. Make strategic choices. Mean the most suitable option is selected. In step number 5, now it is time, because at step number 4, you have selected the most suitable option. At step number 5, you will go and implement. It is also called action stage. Action, strategic action. Okay, you will take action. And in number 6, very interesting, here you will measure performance. You will measure the progress. Progress means you will measure performance of your strategy to know, is this a right strategy? Are we going in right direction? Are we going in the direction that was planned earlier? So you will review the progress of the selected strategy. You will measure the success. I can add another word. You will measure the success of selected strategy. My dear, this is a step-by-step process. This is called formal strategy process, or formal strategy, or deliberate strategy, or top-down strategy development approach. Okay, here you can have a look at this in this diagram, that how this strategy works. First you set mission, and then you set objectives, and then strategic position analysis, strategic position analysis. Okay, this is after analysis, you will go to step number 3. This is step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, options, step number 4, choice, step number 5, you implement, and step number 6 is about review of your strategy. This is called formal strategic planning process. Now, there are certain advantage and there are certain disadvantage of this. There are certain advantages and there are certain disadvantages of this approach. What are advantages? One of the advantage that is considered of this strategy approach is that organization remain focused on its core. Okay, remain focused on its core. Another advantage of this strategy design is that organization means this is a suitable strategy design approach when there is a situation of uncertainty. Okay, when there is a crisis situation, uncertainty, then this approach is good because you will need to go back to your strategy table. Okay, you need to review, you need to go back to the strategy table. But there are certain disadvantages as well. What is one of the disadvantage of this strategy is that it is time consuming. Time consuming. It requires a lot of time in strategy development because executives, there would be a lot of bargain. Okay, so disadvantages would include, for example, like a lot of time may take time. And we know we are living in this digital world where quick decisions need to be made, quick decision need to be taken. And if organization is just thinking, planning, it may waste the valuable time, may take more than enough time. Okay, number 2 disadvantage of this is that under this strategy, there would be a lot of bargain. Bargain mean there may be certain compromises because the directors have to agree upon one thing. So there would be some bargain, there would be some compromises made. And another disadvantage is that this may cause demotivation among the lower management. Okay, organization may miss the opportunities, What do you think of this point? Can anyone please share a few thoughts on this problem or this drawback? What do you think of this? What do you think of this, that organization may miss the opportunities? You can share your thoughts. What do you think? How may this happen? What would be those opportunities? What would be those opportunities? No. This is not related to opportunity cost. This is beyond something big, Aditi. Opportunities for organization, opportunities can be missed. Opportunities can be missed. For example, okay, there is a lot of options or a lot of discussion can be made. For example, opportunities to reduce cost, opportunities to, for example, like take advantage of our new customers, new customer groups. Losing opportunity may also mean that losing some business position as well, strategic position as well, because the competitor may lead, or a competitor, a key competitor may take the advantage, may take the advantage. And here I can give you example, for example, of sustainable business. Sustainable business, for example, electric cars. I think now you can understand more better. Electric cars, okay? It would be difficult. The research, business research has proved, and if we look at the history, the recent history of 30, 40 years, established businesses, large established business may find it difficult to introduce radical changes, or we can say a big change, or you can say introduce a big change to its business model, or it would be difficult for a large established business to reinvent its business model. Why? Here is another case. I will share a video with you to watch, okay? In the WhatsApp, our WhatsApp group, I will share with you a video to watch about the Volkswagen. Volkswagen, one of the world leading auto brand, is struggling to keep updated with the electric bandwagon, with the electrification. Okay, Volkswagen, we can say the case of Volkswagen. Okay, it is struggling to electrify its cars. Why it is the case? One of the reasons is that this is so big a company with hundreds of factories, with dozens of its cars and brands. So it is not easy for Volkswagen to shift its business model completely from fossil fuel based cars to electric cars. You have got this point? Have you understood this overall strategy design approach in the context of the Volkswagen? Have you understood this? So this is one of the reasons Volkswagen has lost opportunities. Volkswagen has lost opportunities because its competitors are a bit ahead of the Volkswagen. For example, talk about BMW, for example, or Mercedes, for example. Okay, they are ahead of this. Even it is also said that Jaguar also has missed the opportunity. Okay, my dear, please respond. Are you clear now about this strategy design approach of deliberate strategy in the context of the Volkswagen? You are clear? A big business, a huge company with well-established success in the past, it would be difficult to move or to radically change its business model. Okay, good. Next, let's talk about our next approach to strategy. Do you have any question? Any student has a question? It's a very interesting discussion you are having, very interesting, and there is so much to learn for you, so much to learn for you. Any question, please? Okay, move on. Next approach to strategy, or next strategy design is called emergent strategy. What is emergent strategy? What is emergent strategy? Let's have a look at the definition, then I will give you more details. An emergent strategy is a strategy that is not formally planned. That is not formally planned. What is formally planned? Formally planned, this is a formal planning, step by step. But emergent strategy is not a formal plan. What is this? This is a strategy that emerges in response to unforeseen developments and opportunities in the external environment. Okay, so this strategy is not the result of a formal planning, but it emerges in response to unforeseen developments and opportunities in the external environment. Okay, how this happens, how this strategy emerges from the environment. Okay, let's talk about a few things. I will share with you 3 scenarios where then you will be able to fully grasp it. 3 scenarios. Number 1, emergent strategy. Now you are clear that emergent strategy is not a formal strategy process, but this type of strategy emerges from the opportunities in the external environment. So number 1, for example, we talk about COVID situation or pandemic. Okay, during the pandemic, the world was in lockdowns all across the globe. Okay, there was lockdowns. This gave rise to what? Hello? As a result of pandemic, when there were offices closed, markets closed, and everything, the whole world was under lockdowns, this gave rise to new business models. Okay, rise of new business models, new opportunities. Can anyone give me one example of that successful story from that pandemic? Can anyone please? Who benefited from the pandemic? Which companies most benefited from pandemic? What opportunities were there? What I can suggest you, when I ask these type of questions, you must have a notebook and note down my questions, and then also take notes of the responses, our discussion, because basically the purpose of all this is to enhance your learning, enrich your learning, and plus also give you the material to write SBL answers. Overall, this discussion is directly linked with the style of SBL questions and SBL answers. Okay, My I have carefully crafted my discussions, okay, to focus on SBL, nature of SBL questions and SBL answers, my dear. So have a notebook and keep taking notes of all this discussion. Our discussion is now about pandemic and new opportunities. Pandemic and new opportunities. What business you think were most successful? What type of business were most successful during the pandemic? Yes, those companies that were online business models thrive. Can you name any such company, please? Technology. Yes, Josiana, you are right. Technology companies, yes, Revlino, IT companies, online companies, and yes, one of that company was Zoom. Exactly. Zoom, one of the company that enjoyed during the pandemic. And do you know the share price of Zoom during the pandemic? Can you please check the share price of Zoom? Just for interesting fact, can you please Google Zoom share price? I am waiting for your response. Zoom share price. Zoom share price, please make a search. What is Zoom share price today? What is Zoom share price today? Okay. This is today's share price. What was it during 2021? Can you please check? What was the price? Because it's not very old company, just 2-3 years back. Check more. Go into the history of its share price, please. It was, yes, the peak was 559, Hussein, in October 2021. And now it is 69. Okay, I'm not going to discuss the reasons why its price has fallen, okay, because this would be beyond the scope, not beyond the scope, but we have limited time. But the point what I want you to understand is that how these businesses thrived during the pandemic. Another success story of the pandemic was the Netflix. Netflix was another story of success during the pandemic. So you can also check the share price of the Netflix, by the way, as well. Okay, and the things have changed after that. Number two, we are talking about emergent strategy. Number two, is the sustainability, sustainable business opportunities. Okay, we see every company is these days offering green products, eco-labeling. You might have seen when you go into your favorite clothing shop, okay, your favorite clothing shop, you may see that you are purchasing a trouser or a shirt. Okay, you may see the green tickets, the green labels, the green stickers, okay, which are attached saying that this is organic cotton, this is responsible sourcing. Even if you go to your favorite coffee shop and they would claim that this coffee is sourced from the sustainable and responsible coffee. You go into your favorite, any like fragrances, beauty products, shoes, footwear, there is a massive, you go into the supermarkets, you will find that there are organic sections, green sections, healthy sections. Okay, so this is an opportunity, this is emerging now, this is emerging. That's why every business you see is now trying to take advantage of this shift. This is called fundamental shift. This is called fundamental shift in the way businesses are done. And every company is trying to, and every business is trying to take advantage. Even if you go into the, now H&M, for example, the fast fashion brands, H&M, Zara, okay, you go and you, when you purchase their products, they also claim that we are now becoming more like earth friendly, planet friendly, this and that, blah, blah. Number three opportunity I can discuss with you about the rise of e-commerce. E-commerce. Now the things have gone beyond e-commerce. E-commerce was just that selling and buying online, but now we talk about digital transformation. Okay, so please make sure you understand the difference between digital business and e-commerce. Okay, e-commerce is just part of digital transformation, because when we talk about digital transformation, that is something very big, something huge, mean where most of the business processes are transformed into like using internet technologies. Most of the business processes, whether it's a production, whether it is procurement, whether it is supply chain, whether it is marketing, whether it is selling, buying, recruitment, management, administration, most of the processes are done using internet technologies. And the number four opportunity I would say about data. Okay, how companies are collecting data, capturing data about the behaviors of customers. You have seen now every business is now, this is also a bandwagon. Okay, everyone want to take make use of, everyone is trying to collect data, behaviors of customers, and then use that behaviors and use that data to market products, brand products in such a way. So these are the four opportunities. I hope you have got the bigger picture now about emergent strategy. So this basically strategy emerges from the opportunities, and I have shared with you the four different types of opportunities which right now are going on. Okay, but what you need for emergent strategy, to take advantage of emergent strategy, what is important? What is important? What is key to take advantage of opportunities? Advantage of opportunities. What is key what is important, and that is culture. Yes, you rightly understood, culture of the organization. Whether that is thriving culture or whether that is change resistant culture, whether the culture is entrepreneurial. Yes, my dear, note it down, entrepreneurial culture. What is entrepreneurial culture? Where organization people are encouraged to try and test new ideas, new innovations, creativity, okay? Creativity, innovation, new ideas, where these are encouraged in the organization, where people are encouraged to think beyond thinking. They are encouraged to think beyond existing their circles of thinking and be the entrepreneur within the organization. So that's very interesting. And we see some companies are really changing themselves because of their entrepreneurial culture. And one classic example, for example, is Google, for example, where employees are encouraged to be creative, to be innovative, and develop their own projects and try and test their projects. Yes. Okay. But this requires some, you can say, forward-looking leadership. There is also the role of the leadership as well, where leaders encourage their people, their human capital to think beyond. I hope you have understood what is emergent strategy. Number 3 type of strategy is called incremental strategy. This is a very risky strategy, let me tell you, incremental strategy. But first, let's learn what is incremental strategy. Incremental strategy is a strategy that is developed slowly over time. Slowly over time. Develop slowly over time. What is this? Develop slowly over time by making small changes to existing strategy, by making small changes to existing strategy, by making small little changes to existing strategy, and no big change, no fundamental shift, no reinvent your business model, no. Small changes to keep updated with the external environment. Changes to strategy are not large or far-reaching. Changes to strategy are not large or far-reaching because the management of the entity cannot see the need for any substantial changes. That is the point. Because the management of the entity cannot see the need for substantial changes. Now, take a little pause and think. Management cannot see need for any substantial changes to products, processes, skills, competencies, capabilities, knowledge, markets. Management cannot see the need for any substantial changes. So what management see then? Here is the question. If management cannot see the changes, substantial changes, then what management see? Then what the management would see? What do you think? What do you think? If they don't see substantial changes, what they see then? Please share your great thoughts. This class must change your thoughts about SBL and about the business world. Okay? When you finish this class, you must be feeling pleasure and happy to know a lot about this subject. Yes, please. If management do not see big changes, then what management would see? What they expect? What they would expect? They expect that existing circumstances will continue. They expect that their success will continue. They expect their customers will keep purchasing their products. They expect that they were successful in the past and that success will continue in the future. May I use, if you allow me, may I use a statement that stuck in the past? If you allow me, may I use the statement for that mindset of the management? Please say yes or no. May I use the statement stuck in the mind, past, stuck in the past? Can we say that the management of that organization stuck in the past? Yes, it is. Stuck in the past success. And by the way, do you think that if an organization was successful yesterday, that success will guarantee tomorrow's success? Do you think yesterday's success guarantee tomorrow's success? You agree? If an organization was successful yesterday, will it be successful tomorrow as well? And by the way, this concept also applies to us individuals as well. If we were very successful executive, we were very successful yesterday, should we keep enjoying that success tomorrow as well, today, without any change? No, not at all. There's a lesson for us as well that we need to change. We need to change. We need to update our knowledge, our skills, so we don't need to stuck in the past. So the same philosophy, same theory also apply to individuals as well. Individuals as well. Come back to the strategy. Third strategy, design approach. So when the entity business environment is changing fast, small changes to existing strategies are unlikely to be sufficient to ensure the survival of the entity, and the incremental change might be associated with aimlessness and lack of strategic direction. What may happen ultimately, that is called strategic drift. What it is called? Strategic drift. Yes, my dear. What it is called? Strategic drift. What is strategic drift? Where the small changes made to the existing strategy may not be sufficient to match the changes in external environment. So ultimately, the organization may lose its direction or may lose its advantage as a result of failing to meet or failing to match with the external environmental changes. Okay, failure to match with bigger external environmental changes. Organization will ultimately losing direction. And if we look at the business landscape, there are so many examples of such companies that have failed in such a way. And do you know one of the biggest name? Do you know one of the biggest name that became victim of strategic drift and incremental strategy? Do you know the name of one of the biggest company? Once it was a leader in a particular industry, but today new generation even may not recognize the brand. It is not very old. It is the recent, just 1 decade ago. Can you name that company that became victim of strategic drift? Strategic drift is a part of SBL topic syllabus. Okay, so you need to learn it comprehensively. Strategic drift and incremental strategy. Thank you, Evelino. Yes, Nokia, one of the company that is considered be the victim of strategic drift was Nokia, although there are many other companies as well that also failed for not changing with the external environmental changes. Okay, Nokia is just one of, there are dozens of companies. Okay, if you look at the Fortune 500 companies, I think I discussed with you in the first class. Okay, there are many companies in the top 10 or top 20 or top 30 position. You can see it, Fortune 500, this is the list of the world biggest 500 companies. You just check the list in 2000 and now in 2023. Even don't go in 2000, just check the list in 2010. And then after 13 years, 23, how many companies have gone from that list? How many companies have moved back on that list? Okay, this is called the new era. So I hope you have got now very clear understanding of what is strategy and the 3 approaches to strategy development. We can go for a little break, but before the break, we can have a very quick revision of the 3 approaches to strategy development. I have taken a little bit more time, okay, to explain all these concepts. Basically, the purpose is to give you more enhanced and enriched understanding of strategy. So the 3 approaches to strategy development are called deliberate strategy, emergent strategy, and incremental strategy. Deliberate strategy is a step-by-step approach to develop a strategy. It is typically generally initiated from the top management and then followed by the lower management. Okay, under top-down approach or deliberate strategy or formal strategy process, there are few steps to follow. First, it is about mission, objectives, then position analysis, then strategic options, then strategic choice, then strategic action, and then review the success of the strategy. In emergent strategy, it is different idea where we don't follow step-by-step approach, but we scan the landscape, and if there is opportunity, we pick that opportunity and try on that opportunity. Okay, instead of going step by step. But one of the precondition of this emergent strategy is that it requires a entrepreneurial mindset. A culture of innovation, creativity is encouraged, where people are encouraged to try and test their ideas. And number three is called incremental strategy. This strategy is a strategy that in which the business would follow a in which business makes small incremental changes to its existing strategy, small changes, expecting that these changes would be sufficient to meet and match with external changes. But the problem with incremental strategy is that if the external environment is fast changing, then these small incremental changes may not be sufficient. So ultimately the organization may lose its direction, may lose its advantage. And when it fails to meet and match, it may lose direction and advantage. Even there is a business risk as well, that business may ultimately land into non-existence. Business may ultimately go out of business. The company may ultimately go out of the business. This may be the worst case scenario of incremental strategy. Yes, going out of the business, closing business, because there would be no customer, no supplier. Okay, so these are the three types of strategy. Hope you have enjoyed and understood. We can take 5-6 minutes of break time, and then we will be back with the more exciting topics, external environmental analysis. So we are starting different models of position analysis after the break. Okay, see you. 5 minutes of break time is sufficient. So see you after 5 minutes. Welcome back. So we are learning about strategy development, how strategies are developed. Here we are going to learn now external environmental analysis. One of the key analysis during strategy design. Okay, when an organization is looking for options or want to grow, when an organization is exploring options, it first needs to analyze its external environment in which it is operating. Okay, so what is the purpose of environmental analysis? In SBL questions, by the way, you would be simply required to analyze the external or macro environment. It is also called macro environmental analysis. Macro environmental analysis, macro. Okay, what is the purpose? Environmental analysis is a part of process of assessing strategic position, assessing strategic position, mean where do we stand in the overall changes in external environment. In order to make strategic choices about the future, the management of an entity needs to understand. In order to make strategic choices, okay, management of an entity need to understand. What they need to understand? The factors in the environment that have a significant effect on the entity and what it does. Yes, so the point here is that when an organization is in the process of strategy development, it first needs to understand that what are the bigger changes happening in the external environment and how those changes may affect its business and business model. Okay. Number two, it also need to understand what are those drivers of change. Mean, what are those key factors which are driving the change in the external environment, whether that is a political factor or whether that is economic factor or whether that is the legal or social or technological or ecological. What are those factors? The key drivers of change. These are the factors in the environment that will have the greatest effect on the entity and force the entity to change its strategies in order to survive and succeed. Okay, so those factors would force the entity to change. And if the entity do not change, if the business does not change, okay, you can imagine the outcomes. So the purpose of the analysis is to assess the environment to analyze the position of an entity in relation to its environment and to judge how the entity's strategies should be developed to take advantage of opportunities and deal with any potential threats. So basically, my dear, please learn it clearly that when we carry out external analysis, our objective is to identify opportunities and threats, because both opportunities and threats both exist in the external environment. Okay, both exist in the external environment. It's a first step towards formulating a business strategy. Now, let's talk about SBL questions. Let's talk about SBL questions. My dear, you must be clear that SBL questions do not specify any particular model. Do not specify to use any particular model or theory. What this means? The question will just ask you, analyze the external environment of the organization, or analyze the environment in which the organization is operating. Or another way, the question may ask you to analyze the macro environment of the organization in which this organization XYZ is operating. Okay, but question would not ask you to use pastel model. Okay, this is the latest development. Understand why? There is a reason. Imagine if you are working as a consultant. You are working as a consultant and a company has requested you to review their strategic position, for example. Okay, your client has requested, you are a consultant, your client has requested you to review the strategic position of the business or the brand. So the client definitely would not recommend you or would not ask you to use, please use pastel or this model or that model. Being consultant, it will be your judgment, it will be your experience, it will be your understanding, it will be your knowledge to determine what model is the most suitable to be used in this context. Okay, my dear, I hope you are clear. So when we talk about review strategic position of an organization, pastel analysis is the starting point. Or pastel analysis is one of the key model to perform. Okay, pastel analysis. Pastel analysis is a structured approach. Basically, SBL questions also expect from you to use a structured approach. SBL questions, this expect you to use a structured. What is a structured approach? Structured approach means a coherent, a comprehensive analysis. Okay, a comprehensive analysis of something. And you know, professional skills in the SBL paper also demand you to use a structured approach, because certain marks in SBL tasks are given on the basis of your approach to the answer. So structured approach, please keep it in mind. Note it down, structured approach. Structured approach to analyze external environment of an entity, the influences like current influences and possible future influences of the environment on the entity are grouped into categories. So for each category of environmental influence, the main influences are identified. So when we talk about structured approach to analyze the external environment, we have the 6 factors. Let's talk about, first of all, political environment and how it affects political environment and how it affects the strategy or strategic position of an organization. Political environment. It's a very simple understanding. The stability of political system, the stability of the political environment in any country attracts capital. Stability of the political environment attracts new capital, attracts ideas, attracts innovation. Okay, stability, because it encourages the investors to invest in that region. Understand? When we talk about stability of political system, it's a very broad area. Not only it is about the overall political landscape in that country, but it's also about the policies. It is also about the policies of the government as well, whether they are consistent with their policies from the past government, or the new government is going to introduce new law, new regulation, new policies, new legislation. Understand? Because if the government is proposing to introduce a new law, it definitely would be affecting the position, strategic position of the organization, because that new law or that new legislation or the change in the policy of government on the one side may be favorable to some industries or some companies, but may not be favorable to other industries or other companies. Here I have included a few good examples for you to grasp it in a broad way. The organization must react to changing political landscape, such as government policy changes and priorities for certain sectors. Yes, you might have seen that in many countries, governments have been offering subsidies over purchase of electric vehicles. Governments have been offering subsidies in terms of lower taxes or in other benefits such as free like charging stations. Understand, governments have been offering. So this is new policy from the many governments to encourage customers to purchase the electric vehicles. But in other countries, the governments put additional taxes over purchase of fossil fuel, or means petrol or diesel based vehicles, in order to discourage the purchase of the like those cars or those vehicles. Understand? So such as e-mobility, for example. Here I can give you example. For example, in many European cities such as Paris, or you talk about Amsterdam, or you talk about any other the European city where governments. Okay, I can give you example from Paris, for example, how Paris is encouraging cyclists. Okay, there is a more space is being created for cyclists. If you have recently visited Paris, you might have noticed that the roads lanes are being reduced, okay, for cars. Parking spaces are being reduced for cars. Why? To encourage more citizens to go on bicycles. Understand? And discourage use of cars in the cities. So this is the city government policies, and this is happening almost in lots of cities across the globe. Okay, city governments, green initiatives. Similarly, in many cities across the globe, where city governments are encouraging their citizens to be more responsible, make less use of plastics, and they are banning single use of plastic, for example, single use of plastic. Okay, so similar actions, similar priorities, similar law, legislation are being introduced all across the globe. So this is a very interesting to see. Very interesting it is to see how political landscapes are changing in the favor of the sustainable economy, to shift to sustainable economy. I hope you have understood. Use of water, for example, use of water, use of energy. Basically, we have a lot of examples, but we have limited time, my dear. Use of energy, for example, many countries where governments are encouraging to use renewable energy sources such as solar energy. Okay, so they are offering subsidies on solar, for example. They are offering subsidies on less use of water, okay, offering incentives, etc. So overall discussion is becoming very interesting in the context of sustainability. I hope you have understood political environment. Next is economic environment. Just like as political environment has big impact over the position or strategy of the organization, similarly, economic environment also affects the strategies of the organization as well. So we easily understand this, that when there is inflation, what happens? The cost goes up. When there is a recession, what happens? When there is a recession, what happens? The demand, overall demand goes down. And when there's a demand goes down, mean the overall revenues, profitability, dividends, and overall everything affected. Similarly, when there's increase in the interest rates, what happens? The cost of borrowing goes up. Similarly, when there is an increase in the inflation rate, what happens? When the economic growth goes up or down, what happens? For example, the economy is growing fast at 7, 8, 9%. Means like overall industries, overall business organization in the country, they take advantage of that growth if the economy is growing at 7, 8, 9%. But if the economy is growing at 1% or 2%, or if there's a recession, okay, it affects, it bites every organization. Similarly, there are a lot of other economic factors as well. For example, the foreign exchange rates, okay, foreign exchange rate fluctuations, foreign exchange rate movements, it also affects the economy and the business organization, especially if they are dealing in import or export, it affects. Similarly, unemployment level of skills, level of jobs available, it also affects. Government tax rates, government subsidies, it also affects. This is also economic factor. But anyway, government taxes or government subsidies, you can discuss in political or economic, wherever you would like, but you can discuss only in one. You can either discuss in political or economic, because repetition of discussion is not a good idea at SBL level. Okay, so avoid repeating your points. Avoid repeating your points. Existence of non-existence of free trade between countries and whether trade barriers may be removed. You have seen these days, there's a big discussion is going on the globalization is ending. Okay, globalization is, you can say, reducing, and every country is becoming concerned. Every country is getting concerned about their own people, about their own products, about their own markets, about their own businesses. So overall, there is a massive shift in the global economy. There are question marks over the globalization right now. When globalization was started, okay, earlier 2000, what was the situation and what is situation now? Okay, so existence of trading blocks of countries such as European Union, understand? So these are the economic factors, easy understanding. I hope you have got it. Next is about social, cultural and demographic environment. We also know that how the change in taste, change in the habits, change in the lifestyle, change in the overall behaviors of customers, this affects business organizations. For example, We see that there's a rise of rising concern. I can link it with the sustainability, rising concerns about planet, about rising concern about climate change, because this is going to affect every individual on the planet. This climate change is not just for few regions or for few countries. No, this is concern for everyone on the planet. Okay, on the earth, everyone is going to be affected because of the climate change. So there is a rising concern, especially previously it was in developed countries, but now we can see in developing countries as well, especially the youth is more aware of this. And social media is also helping to like information are easily available, the communication, the telecommunication, that the overall connectivity, internet, all these are playing their role in changing behaviors, in changing lifestyles of individuals. And I'm especially talking about youth here. Okay, how their behaviors are changing, understand? So this has direct effect on business organizations. Okay, more and more people are becoming concerned about health, understand? More and more people are becoming concerned about health, about fitness. So on the one side, this is opportunity for a lot of new businesses. Yes, we see that a lot of new businesses are emerging that are offering health-focused products only, either in the beauty or either the makeup, or they are offering, for example, nature-based soaps, nature-based cosmetics, nature-based food, nature-based cereals, muesli, nature-based breakfasts, nature-based plant-based products. But it is also a threat for existing businesses that are not changing their products, that are not changing according to these changing behaviors and trends. Okay, I hope you are clear on how the social and cultural demographic factors affect. There are more details you can go through. Next is technological influences. Another big understanding, big area to discuss, technological influences. We know there is technology everywhere now. Technology is at the center of organization strategy. Yes. Now, today, tech is at the heart, at the center of strategy. Whether we talk about data or big data, whether we talk about digital transformation, whether we talk about data, whether we talk about digital transformation of business processes, business operations, or we talk about the markets, the products, how are they changing? The new technologies are developing, for example, more use of cloud computing. Okay, there is Internet of Things, machine learning, more use of AI, and we're talking about connectivity such as 5G, and how businesses are taking advantage of all these new technology developments. Understand? Yes. And even there's a more new business models are emerging, my dear. For example, on the basis of technology, we see that businesses, products as service business models, products as service business models. Now, in many markets, companies are offering subscription-based business models. And all this is happening because of technology. And yes, we can also link the clean technologies as well, clean or green technologies as well. What are these? These are technologies aimed at the sustainability. These technologies are aimed at the less polluting products and more sustainable processes, more sustainable operations, more sustainable products. Okay, so there is a massive investments, massive, even you can expect SBL questions. SBL questions you can expect on this clean technologies as well. Billions of dollars investments are going on in clean technologies and green technologies, my dear. Okay, so SBL questions can link directly or indirectly about these areas. I hope you are clear, broad understanding of green technological influences. Imagine if a company do not adapt to these technologies, what would happen? Losing strategic position. So there are opportunities on the one side, plus there are threats as well. Opportunities for those that are already prepared to embrace these new technologies, and threats are those who are still stuck in the past, and not changing their business models, not changing their business processes, not changing their products, and they are not responding to the bigger changes in the environment. Next, ecological factors. This topic we have been frequently discussing in our today class, directly or indirectly. Sustainability. Everyone, everywhere is now one talk: sustainable, responsible. If you read the news, if you go watch the TV, if you go on the YouTube, if you go on your favorite podcasting channels, if you go on the magazines, online media, there is massive content. If you go on the social media, everywhere there is one theme, that is sustainable business. Sustainable business. So why is there so much talk? Why is so much talk? Okay, you might have heard about UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Anyone has heard about this? 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, United Nations. Anyone has heard? You heard? You hear about this? Hello? You heard about this? No problem. After this class, please have a look into it. UN 2030 climate-related sustainable development goals. You will have more broad idea. And in our next class, we can discuss the role of accountants. Being finance and accounting professionals, this is our role is at the center. Our role is important in this sustainable development goals. Why? Because the climate is changing And there are targets to keep the temperature, keep the emissions to the lowest level. Okay, so there's a very broad discussion. Okay, and you can have a look into it. The changing climate will bring many challenges for society and business, some which are known now and some which it may be difficult to predict. That's a very big statement, very big statement. Have you heard about the recent climate disasters? Have you heard about any recent climate-related disasters? Climate-related disasters, have you heard? Heard about? The recent heat wave in Europe, the recent floods in Pakistan. Have you heard about those floods or the heat wave in Europe? The water issue in South Africa. Have you heard about that? The drought in Madagascar. Have you heard about that? Anyone has heard about that? These are becoming now common. Cyclones, even Mauritius being an island, is also vulnerable to the climate change as well. A small island, okay, vulnerable to lots of risk related to the climate change. For example, about rains, about droughts, about cyclones, and how those climate risk, now we are talking about climate risk, how that may affect Mauritius, affecting Mauritius, for example. Okay, Mauritius economy, for example, tourism. Imagine tourism heavily dependent upon, yes, so tourism, there is a is related to good weather. Okay, so in case of the climate change, and if there's a temperature changes, if there are like floods and rains and cyclones, it would be affecting the tourism industry directly. And further, it would also affect the not only just tourism, but there are other industries as well on the risk related to climate change. Can you please just list other industries? Hello? Just quick. Industries in Mauritius that may be affected because of the climate change. Please quick. Think and quick, just list down. Okay. Agriculture. Yes, perfect. Agriculture. Think more. Think a little bit broad. Infrastructure. Are there risks to infrastructure or not? Are there risks to infrastructure or not? You remember rains, I think in 2017 or 18, that damaged the roads near Waldoon. I'm pronouncing it a little bit different. Huh? The new road constructed on the Waldoon side. It damaged the, yes, rains had damaged in the mountains. So there are big risk to the infrastructure, but infrastructure means towards energy, electricity, power outage. Have you experienced this power outage because of the rain? Have you experienced this? Power cut. Okay, roads, telecommunications, internet, and imagine if there is a climate risk. Okay, the offshore industry, the finance industry, the management services industry would also be affected because the internet interruption resulting from the climate change. And there are more we can list down, but we have limited time. The point here is to give you more local example to link the climate change and its effect on the business and economy. Rains, floods, understand extreme weather conditions. My dear, this is not going anywhere. This is to stay here. Climate change is not going anywhere. This is to stay here. This has become a concern for every one of us. So extreme weather conditions, okay, you can have a local example. You can apply it to Mauritius, okay, local economy, imagine local economy, extreme weather conditions, those economies which are tourism dependent economies. Tourism dependent economies, for example, Maldives, for example, or you think of Bali, for example, or Seychelles, for example, or Thailand, for example, that heavily depend upon tourism. They would be affected because of the extreme weather conditions. More flooding events. You can understand better how floods would affect the infrastructure and other risk, okay, to agriculture. I gave you example from the Pakistan where like massive damage was caused by the floods. Okay, water restrictions. You can have examples from the droughts from the Cape Town, you might have heard, okay, and other cities across the globe. Recent drought in Europe has caused massive impacts over overall supply chain as well. Okay, supply chain issues resulting from the like droughts. The water level in rivers in Germany, for example, dramatically reduced. That was not sufficient for the mobility, for the transportation of heavy ships. Understand? So there are big issues. Supply chain disruption and collapse. I hope you understand all this in a broader context. So climate change, ecological factors are now at the center of strategy. I can write it down for you here that climate factors are now at the center, just like as technology, the climate is now at the center, of corporate strategy. At the center of corporate strategy, businesses must have to change. So on the one side, there are opportunities. On the other side, there are risks, there are threats for businesses as well. Okay, so organization must have to change. Their strategy must have to change. Strategy must have to change. And this is now just not required by customers or by suppliers, but it is now also required by law as well. Let's talk about legal environment. Okay, I continue my example from the ecological environment, that how the change in the climate is affecting business organization. So we can see the new regulation are being developed to control behaviors of business, to control behaviors. Okay, whether these are law about emissions, for example, whether these are law about water, whether these are law about health and safety issues, whether these law about data. Yes, data protection, the law about the the information, about law about right to information. Okay, the companies, as they are collecting more data about customers, about website visits, about purchases, they are collecting massive amounts of data. So there are new laws are being introduced that are putting controls, putting restrictions over business organization, how they can use the data. And there are laws being introduced about the data security. Okay, so there is massive interesting. It is also area to interesting to watch. Not only there are law about how to use data, but also about data protection as well. So there are new developments are emerging in this area. So it is also interesting to watch. This area is also interesting to watch. Okay, that how the changes in the legislation, especially in European Union, for example, or in other developed economies and developed markets, how they are developing new law. Okay, so I hope you have got this interesting understanding about pastel factors and how these factors would affect business organizations. Here is a summary of pastel factors, which we can have a quick look. Just have a quick look, summary of pastel factors and how. But my dear, you should focus on a few things when you are going through this summary. How these factors affect strategy and strategic position. Strategy, strategic position, and strategic planning of organizations. Okay, now you are in better position to understand and grasp all these factors clearly. Okay, have a quick look. Political factors, for example. So what we look at political side, we need to look few factors such as government policy. That is the change in the government policy, political stability or instability in overseas markets, foreign trade policy of the government, tax policy, labor law, environmental law, trade restrictions. Okay, next, economic factors. So we are interested in economic growth of the local economy or the local markets, interest rates, exchange rates, inflation, disposable income of consumers and business. Next, social factors. We are interested in the population growth of the local economy, whether the population growth is like a high or low. Okay, and we are also interested in the age distribution. What is the percentage of the young population? What is the percentage of mature population? What is the percentage of elder population? Because business models also need to transform. For example, we can take example from Japan, where now the elderly people are increasing. You might have heard that in Japan, the birth rate has dramatically reduced, and Japan is facing the challenging of old population. But on the other side, countries such as India or Pakistan, where the youth is the one of the largest part of the overall population, so there are new opportunities are emerging for business organizations. Health consciousness, people are becoming more and more healthy about, people are becoming more concerned about their health, their fitness, their diets, their behaviors, their mental health. So there is opportunity and there's a threat. For example, they are concerned about diabetes, they are concerned about the blood pressure, they are concerned about the obesity, they are concerned about the sugar-free products, and etc., etc. So there are opportunities. Career attitudes, we have seen during the pandemic that there is, for example, more and more shift towards the virtual office, more and more shift towards the work from home culture. Work from home culture, virtual office, and these type of trends are shaping the new economy. This is called gig economy. Gig economy. Okay, Emerging trends. There are lots and lots of new trends are emerging in different countries and different markets. Then there are technological factors, new ways of producing goods and services, new ways of distributing goods and services, new ways of communicating with target markets. Okay, then their topic is about the environmental factors. So scarcity of raw materials. Yes, like there are lots of nature-based raw materials which are scarce in nature. So that is like risk for the organizations. Pollution targets are being set by countries, okay, by local governments. So businesses must have to follow this. Doing business as ethical and sustainable company. Climate change is real, recycling procedures, carbon footprints, waste disposal, sustainability in the center of the strategy, massive change. Then there's are legal factors, for example, health and safety issues, equal opportunities, advertising standards, consumer rights and laws, product labeling, and safety, employment legislation, consumer law, trade legislation, restrictions. All these are affecting business strategy in this 2023. 2023 we are. So I hope you got good understanding about the macro environmental analysis of strategy and how to conduct that. Okay, move on. Here's a small activity for you. You can try this one. Okay, interesting, just try it. Next, impact of strategic drift. Impact of strategic drift. Previously, we have discussed this topic, strategic drift. What is strategic drift? Strategic drift results from incremental strategy of the organization, and incremental strategy where small changes are made to the existing strategy of the organization, and those small changes may not be sufficient to meet the bigger changes in the external environment. So ultimately, what may happen? There would be strategic drift risk of strategic drift for the organization. Risk of strategic drift in this type of situation where there are mega shifts in the external environment. Mega shifts. These are all mega shifts. These are all mega shifts. These are all mega shifts. Okay? Mega shifts. In the external environment of the organization, and existing strategies become increasingly incompatible. Wow, what a beautiful statement. That existing strategies become increasingly incompatible within the changing circumstances. The small changes in strategy may not reflect the bigger changes in the external environmental, ultimately leading the organization to the performance deterioration. Performance deterioration. So here is discussion of what would be the worst outcomes. What would be the worst outcomes for the organization when there is a strategic drift? We can list down a few factors. The worst outcomes. For example, what may happen when organizations fail to match with the external changes? First, we can start with lose competitive advantage. Lose competitive position. So when it's losing competitive position, what may happen? The next follow is losing market share. Losing market share. And when market share losing, what would happen? It is followed by fall in revenue. It is followed by fall in like increasing cost, fall in profit, fall in earnings, and ultimately think big. Ultimately fall in share price. By the way, the cost of strategic drift is very big. I am just listing down few. Okay, fall in revenue and share price. Okay, what would happen? Next, miss opportunities. Miss the opportunities. Missing opportunities. Okay, ultimately there would be business risk. Okay, risk of bankruptcy. Risk of bankruptcy. There would be legal issues. For example, there would be penalties, there would be fines if the company has failed to comply, compliance issues, ethical issues. If the company is not moving with the external changes, there would be ethical issues and so many other, and plus, lots of other risk. So this would be the result of strategic drift, my dear. I hope you are clear on this point. Okay, here is external key drivers of change affecting the structure of a sector or market. If you would like, you can focus on you can have a little bit, you can list down or write something about this, and you can share. And you can share this one. Okay, move on. Next. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Are you enjoying your SBL lecture or not? Are you enjoying till now? That is very important. You must not feel bored. Okay? You feel valued. You feel like you are getting so much value. And this is one of my purpose of my classes, to offer value to my students at each moment, at each minute. Understand? Yes, this is one of the objective, my dear. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on next level of learning, and that is Porter Diamond. Porter Diamond model basically is also model for environmental analysis, but its focus is little bit different. What is this focus? Its focus is here. National competitiveness. National competitiveness. How few industries thrive in a particular country, in a particular economy. How a particular industry, how a particular industry or a company would thrive or grow in a particular market, in a particular market. So the learning here is, the big learning here is to identify those factors. Identify those factors that contribute to the success of the strategy. Yes, to the success of a strategy, of the strategy of a particular company. or industry. Okay, let's start. Very interesting insights you are going to have. What are those factors that contribute toward the success of particular company or industry in a region, in a country? Before starting this discussion, let me give you a few examples. For example, we are talking about clusters, basically. We are talking about clusters. Think of clusters. Clusters are like a group of related industries or group of companies related to a particular industry in a particular region. So when we talk about clusters, the common examples that appear in our mind are Silicon Valley. Everyone has heard about Silicon Valley. When we talk about Silicon Valley, it is famous for what? It is a hub, world largest hub or center of technology and technology developments. All big companies, whether it is a Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Amazon, all these are based in Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is basically world largest hub or cluster for technology and technology developments. So it has a national competitiveness, or it has national competitive advantage over the rest of the world. So we need to explore what are those factors that have helped Silicon Valley to become Silicon Valley. Interesting thing is that a lot of countries have tried to replicate the Silicon Valley model, but they have failed. Yes, I'm repeating. A lot of countries have tried to replicate the model of Silicon Valley, but they have failed. Why? They have failed because they were unable to build up those factors that have contributed towards Silicon Valley. Similarly, we have more examples. Talk about Singapore. How Singapore has become from poverty to world leading economy. From poverty to world leading economy. What factors contributed towards Singapore? This is an interesting case. We can discuss about Singapore. And there are more examples from the rest of the world. London, for example, how London became the financial capital of the world. We can talk about design, why Italian companies are leading in the design. We can talk about the French cuisine or French wine industry, how, or French beauty or fashion or fragrances, okay, how these industries thrive, and France became a name when we talk about fragrances, when we talk about fashion, when we talk about the boutiques, when we talk about these type. Art, when we talk about art, the name comes in like in our mind, Italy. When we talk about chocolates, we think of Switzerland. When we talk about like the kind of auto, we think of Japan, for example. So the point here is that how these industries became names in those countries and across the globe. Let's learn. Porter Diamond model provides an analysis of the factors that give a country or region a competitive advantage. Porter argued that a key to national or regional supremacy in a particular industry is the ability to innovate. That is the point. That is the point. Ability to innovate. Ability to innovate. Firms and industries must innovate to remain successful. Must innovate. And you might have heard the famous quote, 3 words quote. What is that? Innovate or or evaporate. Innovate or evaporate. So a country must encourage innovation in order to retain a national comparative advantage. Got it? By the way, we can also include now Bangladesh as well. And guess what industry? Bangladesh has become world's second largest garments producer. Okay, in garments. There are certain factors that have contributed to Bangladesh. Okay, German manufacturing. When we talk about Germany, we think of German manufacturing. When we talk about auto, we talk about Japanese cars. Okay, when we talk about chocolates, we think of Switzerland. So Porter argued that the national domestic market play an important role in creating competitive advantage for companies on a global scale. So the importance of domestic market is key. That's why if Switzerland has become a name in chocolates because Swiss people consume highest per capita chocolate. It would be amazing for you. Per capita chocolate is highest. Per capita chocolate consumption is highest in Switzerland. Okay. So domestic market plays an important role in creating competitive advantage for companies on a global scale. Companies operating in a strong domestic market can develop competitive strengths. That is the point. Companies operating in a strong domestic market can develop competitive strengths. They can then build on the strength of their home base. Yes, they can build on the strength of their home base because they have got success in their home base. So now it is time for these companies to exploit, to make use of that strength on global scale, to extend their business operation into other countries where their competitive advantage will also apply and help them towards success. So here is the Porter Diamond model. There are 4 factors in Porter Diamond model. Number 1 is demand conditions. Number 1, okay, we can start from the factor conditions first of all. First, start with factor conditions. Number 2 are demand conditions. Number 3 is related and support industries. And number 4 is firm rivalry and strategy. Let's start first one. When we talk about factor conditions, there are 2 types of factor conditions. There are basic factor conditions, and then there are advanced factor conditions. According to Porter, if there are basic factor conditions such as, basic factor conditions are that the climate of the country is very, very suitable for agriculture. Climate of the country is very suitable for particular agriculture crops. Okay. There are natural resources, for example, oil, for example, metals, for example, minerals, for example, gas reserves are there, or water. Yes, now water is also a natural resource, by the way. Okay, water. Or climate conditions are very suitable. Or human resources out there, I mean, there's a massive population, youth. But basic factors do not guarantee the success of particular industry unless they are developed into advanced factors. So what are advanced factors? Advanced factors include, for example, infrastructure. the world-class infrastructure. World-class infrastructure, world-class transportation, roads, airports, railways, ports, shipping systems, means terminals, etc. Telecommunication networks, for example, internet, power, skills and knowledge, means there are latest universities, latest research institutions. Understand? Universities are offering the latest technological courses. There are research institutions that are offering world-class skills and knowledge. My dear, these are called advanced factors. Okay, so according to Porter, if there are advanced factors, then a country can help its industries to succeed on global scale. And here is the example of Singapore. Singapore is a very small island city country, if you know about Singapore, okay, with 5.5 around million population, 5.5. Mauritius population is around 1.3. Singapore population is around about, I think, 5.5 million. It's a small city country. It does not have the abundance of natural resources, such as land, such as mines, natural resources. No, it only has one thing, and that is human capital. So, because of the blessings of the leadership, Lee Kuan Yew, you might have heard the father of modern Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. That was the role of the leader, to transform a nation from poverty to world leading by developing not only human capital, but developing other advanced factors such as the world-class infrastructure. So Singapore today is one of the leading economy in the world. Understand? Because and Singaporean people are one of the most productive human resources or human capital in the world. Understand? That's why many industries in Singapore have thrived. For example, shipping industry has thrived in Singapore because of its advantage, that its location advantage. Similarly, Singapore has developed world-class universities. World-class universities. If you search on Google, the world 20 or 30 top universities, you will find 2 or 3 universities from Singapore. Financial capital of East. Okay, and a lot of other industries in Singapore, such as Singapore these days is working on the future industries. For example, future of bioindustry, pharmaceutical industry, chip industry, similarly health industry, food industry. They are developing future business models. Factor conditions. Number 2, demand conditions. According to Porter, the quality of demand from the local customers also drive local businesses to develop quality products, and ultimately they succeed and thrive across the globe. Here we can take example of Japanese manufacturers. Japanese consumers are considered as one of the most sophisticated in the world. They demand high quality, sophisticated, innovative, modern products. So that led Japanese manufacturers, whether you talk about auto or electronics. Once there was a time when Japanese electronics were leading across the globe. You may also have some Japanese old products at home, and I would suggest you to keep those products just for your future generations. If you have a radio made in Japan from, for example, Panasonic or Sony or National or other Japanese manufacturer, if you have a tape recorder, if you have a VCR, if you have a television or any other Japanese made product, okay? Once it was a time, 20, 30 years back. Understand? Similar goes into Japanese car makers as well. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mitsubishi, Suzuki. You talk about heavy industries, okay? Hitachi, for example, Mitsubishi, heavy mechanical, for example. So these have resulted from the artistic mind of Japanese manufacturers and sophisticated customers of the Japan. So these are the demand conditions. So according to Michael Porter, that it's also very important for a company to have local demand as well. But don't think that just one or two means it is not important that all factors should be met. No. Even just 2 or 3 factors will also contribute towards global success. Okay, note that it is not necessary that all 4 factors, 4 boxes to fill, not necessary to tick all 4 boxes to become global success, global leader in a particular industry. And okay, even 2 or 3 meeting 2 or 3 factors would also help to succeed on global scale. Okay, I thought to make it clear for you. Next, a very important point, very important factor is the related and support industries. That is very key. If there are related and support industries for a particular industry, that would help that industry to thrive and have the global success. Okay, what is that? For example, presence of component providers. Presence of component providers. For example, there are spare parts providers, input providers, raw material providers, machinery providers, maintenance and knowledge and skills providers, support providers, and similarly there are logistics companies, there are trucking, there are logistics companies that would also contribute towards the success of a particular industry. Here, example is Swedish furniture industry, for example. You might have heard about ACCA. You might have heard about ACCA. ACCA. Anyone has heard? ACCA is the world largest, very good, thank you, largest furniture manufacturer and retailer, largest furniture retailer, I would say. Okay, design, and it's more focused on design and retailing. Design and retailing. World largest. What has contributed? Number one, you might have heard about Scandinavian design, and Scandinavian aesthetics of furniture is very different. There are other brands as well that also competing in the same landscape of Scandinavian design. You just search on Google Scandinavian design aesthetics. Scandinavian design. Okay, so their design is more smart design, sleek design, and you can say minimal. Okay, minimal design, simple, elegant. Number two, that is the quality of Scandinavian design and the Scandinavian people as well. Similarly, the availability of forests in the Sweden, availability of transport infrastructure, availability of the loggers and lumber available, and overall support available, and yes, plus knowledge, plus Swedish skill, Swedish people skills and knowledge, that all contributed towards development of the successful furniture industry. And ultimately, if you look at the Sweden, its population is small, but IKEA is the world leader in furniture design and retailing. So the point here is related and support industries. If we talk about Singapore, for example, the same goes. Singapore has its support industry. Okay. And in SBL, there was a question in the SBL about a company that succeeded in tourism industry. Okay, succeeded in tourism industry. There is a question in the SPL scenarios. So the question was about what factors contributed towards its success. And one of the factor was availability of the support industry. So support industry is very important and key role in the success of a particular industry. Okay. Number 4 factor is firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. So this focuses on 3 things: strategy, structure, and rivalry. Strategy, when we talk about strategy, it's more about whether existing companies, their focus is on short or long term. Simple point. If they are making short-term decisions, of course, it would little help them to achieve global success, because in order to achieve global success, you need to have long-term strategies. You have to long-term vision, long-term strategy. Number 2, structure is about whether the companies are family businesses or whether they are public limited companies. Here, it is also interesting to learn about. Family businesses or family firms are normally supposed or expected to have less thirst for innovation, or they may be more satisfied with their existing operation, and they may not be changing much. Okay, they may not have more you can say they may not have more broad goals, or they may not have more you can say ambitions, little ambitions. Yeah, there's a more effective, less ambitious. Family firms may be less ambitious about growth, but when it comes to public listed companies, because they may have the pressure from their shareholders, public listed company that are listed on the stock exchange. Okay, they may be pressurized by the shareholders and investors to innovate, to grow, to flourish, to thrive, to explore new markets, new products, try new projects. And yes, so public listed companies would be more likely to grow and succeed in the foreign markets. I hope you got this point. And number 3 is rivalry. Another very interesting point is higher the competition in domestic market, more successful will be the companies. Lower competition in domestic market would the companies would not be forced to innovate, because the center point in overall this whole model is innovation. the center point in the whole model is innovation. Innovation is the center of the whole model. So more competition mean more innovation, and less competition mean less innovation. So more competition in domestic market means the companies are trying to distinguish themselves, trying to differentiate themselves by offering new products, new services, and ultimately leading them to achieve success at global scale. So my dear, this is the Porter Diamond model. I hope you have enjoyed the overall learning of Porter Diamond model. And number 5 is the role of the government. Yes, we cannot deny the role of the government as well. Even some authors and some scholars, they consider the role of the government as number 5 factor. Factor number 5. And this is true. This is true. The role of the government here, you can see that the government role is at the center, by the way. Yes, in all 4 factors, government role at the center. Whether it is about factor conditions, this is the government that will putting infrastructure development. Demand conditions, government role. For example, electric car industry. You can see that these days in a lot of countries, there are new startups. New startups are emerging in electric cars. Even in Africa, you might have heard Ghana, for example. Ghana, I hope you have heard about Ghana. African countries, they are encouraging their startups. They are developing their electric cars for their region, for their continent, for the global scale, because governments are encouraging customers, government are encouraging demand condition. Okay, electric car or a lot of other industries. Okay, government policies, government making policies. In third number, related and support industries, government role is to develop universities, world-class research institutions, world-class knowledge foundations, world-class skill centers. Okay, this is the role of the government to set policies. And number 4, the rivalry. Here again, the role of the government is also to develop policies. So government role is in center at all 4 factors to help a particular industry to achieve competitive strength on the global scale. I hope time is up. Time is too short, too little. It's just finished. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this class, this lecture. Please, Hussain, please drop a message to the coordinator at Hamzah Academy. They will add you. Thank you. Okay, so that's it. Today class, I have little bit more elaborated, more explained, just to give you a broader understanding of strategy. Okay, just to build your base and foundation to help you to grasp more broad concepts and know about the beauty of SBL paper. This is SBL paper that you have learned in today's class. This is the beauty of SBL paper, to think outside the circle, not box, circle. Think outside the circle and explore new ideas, innovate. So my dear, our next class, we will be covering the topics, or hopefully we will try to cover most of the topics from the strategy section. Okay, in the analyzing sources of competition, I would recommend you to go through these topics before coming for the next class, so you can have already idea about what you are going to cover, and you can list down your questions as well for the next class, where I will always encourage you, appreciate you to ask questions, All right, my dear, that's it from our today class. Thank you very much for joining today class. Thank you very much for all your wonderful participation. That participation I always expect from you. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a very beautiful evening and take care of you, your families, and make best use of your time and take care of beautiful Mauritius. See you on next Saturday. Bye.